But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it looks fun. See
welcome
it.
everybody to the PGI 2018 recap stream. My name is Frank, obviously, for those who don't know me, and I have Edge, otherwise known as Andrew, and Crit, otherwise known as
Hello.
Crit, who's joining with me. So say hi to everyone.
Yeah. Hello. It's critical.
What up?
Nice. A1 introductions off to a flying start, boys. So anyway, basically tonight,
Yeah.
we just wanted to quickly go through, our journey to PGI, or our journey at PGI. I think we all had a pretty amazing time. For me, anyway, it was probably one of the best events I think I've ever been to. Um, but yeah, I think we all learned a lot while we were there. Um, and I don't think we've ever really had a proper chance to like reflect on it. Things have been so hectic since we got back, so yeah, I think this would be a good opportunity for us as well. Just as the org and as the players, to have a chance to, you know, have a look at what we did well, what could have gone better, and also just I think shoot the shit a little bit about Berlin itself. But yeah, of course, the stream is powered by AORUS. Bunch of legends. They're giving us some pretty cool stuff to give away. I actually really want to keep one of these. So it's like a little airplane, like USB dock. So you know how like if you've run out of USB slots, you like plug like a dock in, and you can like get extra ones. So I'm actually gonna like sneakily keep one of these. But we're gonna give a bunch of them away.
Expected.
I've also got some hats and mouse pads to give away. So we'll just be I think picking people out of the stream chat. Anyone who asks questions, and then we'll be doing some scheduled giveaways like now and then as well. So yeah, I guess we can kick off with. I think I want to know a little bit about like how you guys found. Like we want to go from like chronological order. So like start with like sort of your journey, or your sort of experience like traveling, to Berlin and getting to the airport and stuff like that. Because both of you guys have been overseas, right? It was Potato and Champs that haven't.
Yeah. Just one
Yeah,
time
we
for me.
the holidays and that was it. So yeah.
So like what like Crit, you had a pretty long way to go, right?
Yeah, no, it's massive. Because I had to drive to get to Perth, which takes 3 hours ish, and I have to wait for the flight and all that. Because all up, my transit was like 45 hours or something. It's kind of insane. Because I have to fly to Sydney first as well. Because we all left from Sydney. But yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of travel, but it's my second international. I've been to LA before, but this was a lot more a lot longer than LA because there was no stopovers
Yeah,
to LA as well.
I think traveling to Europe has always been pretty rough out of Australia. Like I think I've been there 3 times now for esports, and it's literally basically like other side of the world, so it's pretty rough. What about you, Andrew? How was your travel?
Well, not really much different to Crit. Obviously, a shorter flight to Sydney, but yeah, 3 hours, roughly 3 hours travel to the airport at Melbourne, then to Sydney, and then yeah, the long haul over there. And that was the longest flight I've had so far, anyway, as well.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Doha wasn't too bad to stop at. And it's kind of weird, the big airport. I don't know, because like you don't go outside or anything. It's strange.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah, you don't even get to see the city or anything like
yeah.
that.
I mean, I think Doha is one of those like transfer areas or transfer like cities. So like the airport is pretty lit.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, we were all so dead by the time we got there, so I don't think we really got to check it out that much anyway. Um, so yeah, I guess when we got to Berlin, it was a lot hotter than I think we expected. Um,
It was
yeah,
really
and
bad.
Berlin, like
I
yeah, go on.
I knew it was gonna be hot. Like I'd heard it was hot, but I didn't realize it was like so hot that they couldn't deal with it. Like they're not equipped to deal with it at all. None of the aircon works or anything.
Yeah,
It's
Europe
pretty
not
intense.
having aircon was a pretty interesting thing.
I don't know if it's yeah. I don't
They
know if
have
it's
aircon.
Europe.
It's just
I don't know if
weird.
it's Europe in general or Berlin. Because last time I went to Berlin, yeah, they just don't have aircon. Like I don't know if it's like an architecture thing. Like I was talking to some of my German friends, and they were just like, yeah, like it's not hot enough to ever like warrant aircon. So they just they just don't
Yeah,
have
the
it.
aircons were basically just moving the air. That's it.
Yeah. It was hard. It wasn't like it was, it's like being in Australia, but in Australia you can usually get away from it because there'll be aircon. Every store you go into has aircon in Australia when it's hot. And in Germany it's just like you walk in and it's the same as outside. But yeah. I guess it wasn't really a big deal until you had to play the event,
Oh,
which
yeah.
we can get to later.
Well, I guess like better. I mean, we got there a day before everyone else. I think sort of just to try and combat the jet lag. Um, but I mean,
Yeah.
like, do we? You guys went out, right? You guys went sightseeing, like before the event.
Yeah, first
Kind
2
of.
days.
Yeah, we just walked around. What did we do? We did a little bit on day one.
Yeah, day
Yeah.
one we had a few media obligations,
Oh, that's right.
but nothing really apart from that.
Yeah, we had to do some media stuff as soon as we arrived, which was a bit less than ideal
Yeah,
after the 40 hours or so.
Apparently, you guys are a bit delayed, like camera and audio. I don't know. Maybe it's just a Discord thing.
Is it me
I
as
thought it was
well or
just
just Edge? Edge has the dodgy USBs, right?
I'm on my laptop at the moment, so that
Oh,
could be a
okay.
No, I'm
factor
not
as well.
US.
Mm.
Well, I'm hosting the thing, so like I think it's because like it's capturing. I've got like my camera plugged straight into like the OBS, and like I'm using Discord to capture like the other two. But I guess we'll just have to deal with it. Um, just yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's mostly what we say that's important, right? Not how we look.
Yeah.
That's
But
it.
yeah, so yeah, I think I got was I sick? Yeah, I was sick when we got there. So like I use that to as an excuse to not go out. But yeah, well, I've been to Berlin before, so like I've kind of seen all of it. I mean, it's a nice city. It's not for me personally.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of like I'm not a huge fan of like Europe in general, especially cities that are kind of like not very modernized. So I was like, yeah, whatever. But the hotel we were,
I really
yeah,
liked
but
it.
you live in Perth. Well, you live 3 hours outside of Perth, so anything
Wow.
that has
Perth's
civilization is
nice.
like really good for you.
No, but even compared to Sydney and Melbourne, I thought it was cool.
Yeah,
I thought Berlin was really interesting.
Yeah, I'd rather live in Berlin than I would Melbourne, to be fair. Like, I'm not one who likes cities, but Berlin would be a kind of more chilled version of any kind of Australian city.
I really enjoyed like the architecture. Just like walking down the streets was cool. I don't know. Maybe get bored of it. I think it would have been a much better experience if it wasn't so hot. Like it was hard
Definitely,
to appreciate everything when it was so hot. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, like the heat wasn't that bad, right? Like overall the heat wasn't too bad, but because there was no aircon anywhere, like you never got a chance to cool down, right? Like in Australia, like it's super hot,
Yeah.
but say you like go inside or you go to like you go on like even like a bus or something and there's like aircon, right? So you just kind of cool down, go back outside, it's kind of hot again, whatever. But in Berlin, it's just hot everywhere. Like in the buildings, it's hot, in the rooms, it's hot. So yeah, that was not great, I think, for any of us.
The
Yeah.
hotel was pretty good, but the aircon there wasn't
Yeah,
even
it's
that
good.
good,
It's good in me and TJ's room.
which is
So
weird.
that's all I'll say. You guys,
Yeah, our room was okay too. Edge's and Champ's
Yeah.
was not very good
Yeah, ours was a
at all.
sauna 24/7. It's
Yeah.
like you have a nice cold shower after a long day, and you get out of the shower, you dry yourself off, put your clothes back on, and then you're all of a sudden sweating again. It's just unavoidable.
Oh, but yeah. So I think a couple of days after we got to Berlin, we kind of went straight to the arena. So we played at Mercedes-Benz Arena, which was pretty goddamn amazing. I think we were all pretty blown away the first time we saw the stage. Like,
Yeah, it
yeah,
was
we
better
got
than
there
I
for
expected.
rehearsal. Like, what do you guys think about, the whole setup that they had? I think we were all speculating like how, like what it was going to look like how it was going to be structured, and it sort of took all of us by surprise a little bit.
Yeah, I think the layout of the venue and all that was amazing. Like really well done.
Yeah, the
Um,
scale was much
for
bigger
a
than
quick
expected.
yeah, for something that apparently they didn't organize, like it was pretty quick. They didn't have like the longest time to organize it. It looked really good. But I think there were the issues were not the look of it. There were some like practical issues, I think, like the heat. But other than that, it was really impressive to see.
Yeah, I don't know whether the heat factor is something that the organizers can really change much of, like whether the stadium's set up to deal with that. But even still, like just everything on the whole grand scale, like when you got thousands of lights bloody shining everywhere around you, it's always going to be hot.
Yeah, I mean they probably didn't prepare for the 30-degree weather, but it was like playing in that was like it felt like 45 or
Yeah,
something.
Yeah,
I
It
mean
was
lights,
crazy.
PCs,
That
just
maybe just
everything.
yeah, they probably just needed some more air. That's all. There was no air coming up or anything. It was all blocked off. But other than that, it was really like if the weather was normal, it would have been fine.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I thought it was just pretty sick stage.
yeah, the whole thing was amazing. Like you walk in there and you see the amount of seats, and it just sort of puts into scale how big it can possibly be. Um, but yeah, it was just awesome.
Can we
Huge
answer
Yeah, I
relevant
think we
stage,
should.
questions?
circular stage.
Yeah, the stadium didn't feel empty
Yeah,
at all
so Mad
when we were
Mockers
playing.
asked was the arena as empty as it looked on stream. So I think one of the reasons it looked empty on stream was like you only really see the crowd in between games or like shots like before games and things like that. And with the way like PUBG is structured, like it's not like a CS comp or anything where like you get there for your best of three or for the best of five. Like there are 4 or 5 games running, um, each day, and people sort of coming in and out during, and a lot of the people who were at the actual stadium itself were like lining up for the free skins outside, so there was like a crap ton of people there. So some of the shots, like during the intro and all that kind of stuff, like the shots, like they'd pan across the stage and stuff like that. Sorry, the stadium, and it'd look empty. But during like the actual games, like it'd be pretty packed. Like I would say it was like 75-80% full.
Yeah, like people were still sitting down probably during like the looting phase and stuff,
Yeah,
and they're not showing the crowd probably. I don't know if they did. Don't think they did.
yeah. I think the crowd was a lot more full than it appeared to be on stream.
Yeah,
Um,
if you
but
zoomed
yeah,
it out
you
like
got
with a
people coming
camera,
in and out.
it probably looked way less full than it was.
Yeah.
There were gaps, but it was still crazy.
I think towards the start there were a lot less people. So throughout the days of third person, and the charity event, like there was a lot less people. But as soon as you started to get to first person, especially on the final day, like it was pretty
As
packed
soon
on the
as as
final
soon as
day.
OMG started winning, then it started getting packed. Yeah.
All the Chinese fans just rocked
Yeah,
up.
that was awesome though. I really enjoyed watching, like, seeing the Chinese and Korean fans because you don't see that
Yeah.
really. Like, it's a different experience.
I mean, something that
Mm.
And even I don't watch LOL, so I've never really seen like Korean fans or anything besides like StarCraft, and would never apply that to like the games I've played. So it was crazy to see it in person.
I mean, it's something that I've just noticed in esports in general is that like the Asian fans tend to be like much more passionate. or at least display it a lot more than the Western fans. Um, and I think a lot of it just comes from cultural differences. You know what I mean? Like esports has been around for so much longer in Asia. It's been like a much more mainstream part of like their society a lot longer. So you're gonna have like a lot more sort of dedicated and like hardcore fans. And like they're, you know, I'm not saying they're not passionate Western fans, but I think it's just more like, they're much more willing to like cheer and support. And like, the Chinese fans, like, they would support 4AM and OMG. Like, they would just support Chinese teams as opposed to being like, I'm an OMG fan. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think
Yeah.
that was, yeah, I mean, some of our fans that were there were like very, really into it. I think we all really appreciated that. It was nice to, when we were in Berlin and we got a lot of support. I think it was really, really great to see. But yeah, it's definitely more just like from like a crowd perspective. Um, you have like Liquid had a lot of fans there. The Vietnamese, well, I mean they're Asian, I guess. So like Liquid had a lot of fans there. Um, but aside from that, like I can't really think of any other Western team that had like a huge like
That was much later. Like there were little groups of Liquid fans you could see,
yeah
Yeah,
like
it was
smaller
the same
groups.
with like.
But then there'd be whole sections of
Yeah.
yeah like
Chinese fans and whole sections
yeah
of
the
refund
Vietnamese and
fans
like
from
Genji
Vietnam.
Korean fans. Yeah, so
Yeah, because we were sitting next to a Korean team, so there were a lot of Korean fans in front of them and in front of us. So it was interesting. It's cool though. A lot of the Korean players are like had like previous backgrounds in other games
yeah,
though, and actually
like Eska.
famous-ish. Whereas a lot of the PUBG players are new, brand new
Mm.
in the Western scene. Most of the EU players and stuff aren't from like a big past in other games, or weren't
Well, I mean, there's
famous at
Godby
least.
and League of Legends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like Eska, yeah.
Well, I guess so now I think everyone kind of is asking a lot of questions, so we'll move on to like the actual play, and how we performed at PGI. So for those who don't know, PGI was split into essentially two separate comps. One of them was third person or TPP, and one of them was first person or FPP. So the first event on the first 2 days was TPP, which was when we came ninth. And the second one was FPP, and we came 12th in that. So overall, sort of similar performances, I guess. Obviously we did better in TPP. I think that was a little bit unexpected from coming from us. But I'll let Edge and Crit sort of summarize, I think, how they felt about our performance there.
No, I definitely think, and I think we as a team agree that we completely underperformed. Like if I had no context, I say like if I saw that we came 9th and 12th, and I didn't know what happened at the tournament, I'd be like, yeah, that's okay. But I really didn't feel like we're on a different level, like behind the best teams or anything when we played scrims and just playing the games. I just don't think we played to our level. We didn't. I think one of the biggest problems for me was in the lead up. There were just too many days where we didn't play PUBG as well.
Yeah, I think that has a little bit to do with it. I think third person we got a better result primarily because we were more relaxed in third person. It wasn't anything to prove. Didn't have to. We went there for a top 10 placing for third person, and we did that. But even before that, like the vibe from the team was completely different. Like a lot more relaxed, and yeah, just small mistakes happen in third person, but no one got sort of bent out of shape about it or anything like that.
Yeah, I think you go like going over there into the like PUBG's a weird game because you can't really prepare for the meta. Like say if you're an Australian team in CS going over, you know who you're playing. You can prepare for it. And you can say in PUBG, you know who you're going to be playing against. But when all the teams come together, it's a completely different. Like you can't prepare for that. It's like becomes its own little meta just for that event, for that singular event. And I don't think it was like a lack of adapting. I just don't like we cared too much about the specific event or something. I don't know. We didn't play our own game enough.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think with PUBG, based on what I've seen compared to like other games, like you mentioned, like with CS League, all that kind of stuff, it's a lot more like the preparation. It's a lot more like strategy based. It revolves like around strategy a lot more, like your meta, planning your executes and things like that. Whereas with PUBG, it's much more about like just feeling comfortable on the day, because ultimately, like, there are only so many decisions that you can kind of make with like rotations and things like that. Like most of it comes down to being able to make those decisions quick enough, like your gunfights on the day, how sharp you are, and things like that. And it just sort of, I think, took a little bit too long for us to get comfortable, just to play.
Yeah. Well, I think that was one of the other big issues was it was only 8 games per tournament. And we still could have done so much better. But that also made it really weird because like you'd learn something on day 1, but there's only 4 games left. Like you're already halfway through the tournament. So it's kind of hard. But at the same time, you doubt things more because there's only so many like little games left. I think like the meta thing is a massive issue. I think because we play in Australia here, against mostly the same teams, like constantly, and you kind of get into a rhythm, even if you don't notice it. Like subconsciously, teams do certain things, and you move in a certain way, and it works most of the time. And then if like no, we go over there and one rotation doesn't work, that would work back here, and it might like, mentally just change the way you're playing. You'll like just lose confidence because you're used to one thing working every single time. Because there's like certain things we do here that always work here, but it might not work the first time over there because the teams just play differently, and you can't prepare for that that difference really. But you can't. What you do, you stick to your own game. You keep playing your own game each game instead of adapting too much of the ifs, like what went wrong in one game.
Yeah, especially with like the small amount of games, like it's harder to shake off. Like it's like Extreme Gaming 4 asked. Oh, sorry. I was looking at another one. Yeah, so Eviside said, in the OS quals, like when we won, like our momentum was really strong, but like on the flip side, like how do you deal with like, countering that after a bad game? And I think that sort of almost goes back to the fact that there were only 8 games. Like we had a couple of shockers, like a couple of games where we just came like last, 0 kills, 18th, 1 kill, something like that. And it's like sometimes with PUBG, like that just happens. Obviously, I'm not saying that like they're unavoidable. Like there are a lot of teams who just consistently did really well. But for example, like playing on a stage with 20 of the best teams in the world, you can't just like, or something we identify was like you can't just like hard rotate through the middle of the circle like in a vehicle. That you might be able to do that in OS, but in PGI, like they'll just kill you. Like they'll just shoot you out of the car like immediately if you drive by. Like even within like 50 meters of someone, like they'll just beam you. So like all of that sort of factors into a competition like PGI.
So the LAN client makes a big difference there too. Online you get away with driving more because people can't shoot you because the game's not running well. At LAN the game's running pretty good, and people who can aim like are going to hit more shots, which is something you don't get used to at all. Like our qualifier in Australia was online, so even that was different.
So Dr. V asked, did the fact that there were 20 teams change the meta significantly from the qualifiers?
Well, in qualifiers we had 20 teams as well, so there was really no difference there. It's just the way that teams play.
Yeah.
We found like in qualifiers we read the circle really well. I think not a lot of teams at the time knew how to read the circle properly. And then obviously coming to a big international event like this against the best players and best teams, they're all going to know exactly the same things that you do, if not more, from like more playtime. But I don't really think that the 20 teams and the knowledge really was what gave us bad results at all. I think it
Yeah,
was
how
just how we
how
played our situations.
yeah. The only difference is, I think, for me was 20 teams here is not the same as 20 teams at PGI, because the 20
Yeah,
teams at PGI are at a certain level, like most of them on a really high level, and that many good teams in one game is different to one game back here with 20 teams. There's this Everyone moves way faster, like the quality difference. So 20 teams here is not the same as 20 teams over there. Would be my main difference there.
mm.
So like we might think we're used to 20 teams in Australia, but 20 teams in at PGI is not the same thing.
Yeah. It just
I
like
think.
the map was just like it was just a lot more cluttered. It was just so much pressure. Like you had a lot less options with how to rotate.
Yeah,
And there's like people play so safe. Like there's a lot less people dying within like before like second, third circles, and then as soon as it hits like mid game, like everything is just taken. Like if you don't rotate somewhere quick enough, or if you don't rotate somewhere early enough, you don't identify like you know a path that you can open up, like you're just kind of screwed. So that's where we had like a couple of those games where like we were just stuck, like we just had nowhere to go, which is rough.
Yeah.
yeah, that's mostly due to like we didn't give ourselves options as well. Like generally, we scout out better positions, but we didn't find we were really doing enough of that at PGI. Just playing too scared, not wanting to move into better positions to get information. So it was just a little different things that we did that obviously didn't work out.
It's a big mental game.
Definitely,
Like you have to be ready to play your own style at the international event, but at the same time, you also have to be ready. Like if you have one bad game in the 8 games, like it's a big deal because there are only 8 games, but you have to be ready to like bounce back from that as well, which that's really hard. Especially when you know that you say you come 20th in the first game, then you know there's only 7 games left. It's like, oh, you're already like pretty depressed, I guess. And that's
yeah.
dealing with that's pretty hard. And that's why I think like one thing that would have made a difference is if we could have played more in the lead up to the event, like in Europe, not
Yeah, at least we
here.
can get a feel for the teams
Yeah.
and the skill cap
Uh,
before even getting into the event.
and to like answer Potato's question in chat, I don't think travel, like the actual travel itself affected performance for me. It's just the time of not playing PUBG.
Yeah,
So
it
not
was
like the actual. I
about a
wasn't
week.
like tired. No, it wasn't about being tired or anything. It was just about how long it was between like regularly playing PUBG before we played the event, because we didn't get to play many scrims either
Yeah, like even the
at all.
small amount of scrims we played, like something would just come up. We'd miss out on a scrim, like
Mm.
30% of the scrims that they're running.
Yeah, there were some technical problems, or they just cut the scrim
Yeah.
short a
Mm.
lot. So I don't really feel like we ever got into the rhythm like before playing, but everyone had to deal with that. I guess except they live in Europe, so a lot of them. But
So,
4 a.m. were there like 2 weeks earlier or something,
yeah, we
practicing.
still outplaced them. So,
Yeah, that's true.
old mate Bob Fossil asked,
true.
which team surprised you guys the most?
I was because I guess most people would say, "Oh my god," but I really thought they were going to do well. I didn't think they were going to
Yeah.
win.
I mean, we knew they were good because we played them
I
in
don't know if there
the
was really many
Zemo
surprises.
Invitational. So
Yeah, and I thought they were going to be good because you know the structure they have in China and Korea.
Yeah, they definitely
Like
put
you
in the
know
work.
that they're going to develop fast.
We knew that they were a first person team, but we didn't know to what extent. Um, but even still, I think like the Korean teams performed well. Even though they sort of placed mid pack for first person, but you know, for something that's not their primarily game type, like for us coming to third person, it's still a pretty good
Yeah.
result.
I guess you would. I'd say, oh my god. Anyway, like I thought they were going to come top 5 or something,
Yeah,
but I didn't expect them to be this far ahead. Like their level of team plays, you know, they play in like a different environment back in China, to the point like where they've developed so quickly on another level, like how consistent they are. But it could have been different in a longer, if there were 16 games or something. I don't know if they would have kept it
Yeah.
up or not.
I mean,
It's
they slowed down a
unknown
little bit on the last
to
day.
be seen. Yeah, on
Mhm.
day 2. But
Yeah, the gap did get
you can't
closed
argue
quite
though
easily.
with how well they did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
How many kills they got.
First, second, first. Day 1 at FPP, 55 kills. Just give them the title.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Good on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, overall, I think Lion KK had like double the next person's amount of kills. You know, next highest amount of kills.
Yeah,
so
he's insane.
Just alone, like he's an absolute monster.
Did you feel you couldn't take another team's main landing location out of wait?
So I think
I'm
what
confused.
he's
There was
I
nothing
think what
wrong
he's
with that drop.
saying is like, do you think? Wait, so I mean, we dropped where we wanted to go every time, right?
Yeah, no one can guess the Gakka, and I wouldn't have changed Gakka
No,
even if we knew something else was empty.
But like,
It wouldn't have
There's-
changed.
there's
Like
no
it would
point
not
in
have
changing.
affected. It wouldn't have affected our results if we had a different landing spot.
I guess it's a
But like besides RNG,
I guess it's
being
like a
factor.
hypothetical. Like, if we knew there was another team going that was a Gatka team, would we have conceded it? I think, like, I remember talking to a couple of
you don't.
of the Honey Badger
you
guys about
generally-
this, right? Like a lot
Yeah.
of what happened in scrims actually really determined like this kind of stuff as well.
We were not contested ever, even in scrims. Were we?
but I think but I think if there was a team, say like Tempo Storm came or something, that was going to contest, and we knew that they were going to contest, would we change? I think we'd have to put feelers out to see how they play it, because around the western side there was still a lot of empty real estate that we could have gone to if we needed to.
Yeah, the
But
thing with
I think
we could
we'd
have.
to
Yeah,
definitely feel it out first.
if we got hub drops, we were ready
Yeah.
to move on from it. It wouldn't have been a problem. I don't think it changed our like. I don't think Gakka's bad either. A lot of people seem to think Gakka's bad, but
No, Gatka's terrible.
we
to
won.
go there.
We won the OC qualifier going there. So, but yeah, the environment. Vandy asked about the tournament structure. I think everyone agrees that you can't do third person and first person because it just limits the games.
You need a bigger sample size if you're going to do that, though.
If you're
Like,
gonna do that, I don't
8
know.
games isn't enough.
Yeah, if you're gonna do third and first, you have to do a really long tournament to fit enough games in. Because I don't mind having to play a third person tournament, but I do mind if it means I only get to play 8 games per tournament. But I think someone else asked earlier. I don't think there'll be third person anymore going forward.
No,
You agree?
most regions have pushed
Yeah.
that out so far.
The
Koreans
Chinese and the
are
Koreans,
pretty hard
yeah,
behind first person now.
they're all behind first person now.
Like, I personally don't have a problem with third person as a game mode. I mean, obviously I prefer first person, but like I think for competitive, like first person it's just better. It's more exciting. It's more dynamic. Yeah.
Well, they
yeah.
know
So
that.
I think I
They've
don't like it when
realised
people
that.
turn it into like a first person v third person kind of thing. Like, first person players like fleeing shit at third person players and things like that. Like, everyone's entitled to sort of play like how they like to play. But yeah, so I think it's preferable that first person should be the competitive game mode. But yeah.
I'll just answer Buddy Boris. I don't think the Hong Kong Invitational is relevant because it was organized a long time ago. I just think going forward, like when PUBG run events, they'll choose first person.
Well, yeah,
most likely.
PUBG Corp plan to set their own standards for competitions, so
And that will
whatever
change it
they
all.
choose is realistically how it
Yeah.
goes. But yeah, I think first person, from the sounds of everything, is how it's definitely going to go.
So Eviside asks, how was the camaraderie between teams during downtime?
I think generally, like everyone was pretty sociable. Like personally, we got along really well with a couple of the dudes from Honey Badger Nation. Genji Black, Grammatic, absolute top lad. So you just got to put your hand out and just see how other teams react. But yeah,
Yeah,
everyone was pretty close.
everyone was like, it's not like everyone was talking to everyone, but everyone was friendly.
Yeah,
I
if you
didn't.
spoke,
Nothing bad happened. There were no issues. Yeah, but like Edge said, we talked to the Honey Badger guys a lot, who are American and European split. Yeah. Um. Yeah. A lot of the teams didn't also speak much English, so you couldn't talk to everyone.
Yeah, but they made do. They did their best.
Or they were, yeah. But even then, like Grammatic from Genji, he's Korean, and he didn't have amazing English, but he was the friendliest guy ever. Like he'd always say hello to us and talk to us. It was the
Yeah, I'm
best.
surprised at how friendly like the PGI like PUBG community is. Everyone's willing to sort of help each other. Everyone's willing to talk, and no one's too like snobby or anything. So yeah, it's interesting. I had a lot of fun meeting a lot of people there. So normally with like other games, like when I go for other tournaments and stuff like that, it's not really like that. And I mean, like I won't say like I won't fault anyone because of that. I won't be like, oh man, like I hate League of Legends players because they don't like add me on Snapchat and shit like that. But like these guys are just. I think it's just because of how young the PUBG tournament like industry or infrastructure is. Like they're just like happy to be there and like super friendly dudes. So yeah, I had a really good time.
I think it has a lot to do with the fact that there's 20 teams in the server at
Yeah.
once as well. Like compared to CS or LoL, where you've just got two teams fighting against each other, you're not really that close. Where in PUBG, sort of everyone's always socializing between games and all that, and I don't
Yeah,
think
you're
that
not
there's any
really as
real sort
much.
of any real rivalries.
Yeah, there's no direct rivalries. Like there are sometimes about like who wins a tournament, but like after a PUBG game, you can literally talk to nearly every other player in the game, and you didn't see 95% of them, so you can talk about what happened. Like, and you weren't technically kind of weren't enemies. Like you are, but you didn't face them directly. So I think that makes it a bit more casual.
Yeah,
Out of the game.
Even guys that like you did see like Fast Trail would just come up to champs and be like, dude, I beamed you like in Miramar, dude, like I just popped you like.
Yeah.
But it's like it's not like, oh man, like I can't believe you do this to me, man. Like let's go outside, I'd knock you out, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's like a lot more chill. Yeah, that's a good point. Like you're not going like it's not like a 1v1 or like a team v team like competitive thing. It's like 20 people and everyone's just discussing like what happened in the game and things like that. So yeah, it's good. It's fun. Potato asks, do you feel as if the level of respect the OS community has for your team has increased since PGI?
Not
Not
at all.
really.
I don't think.
No.
No.
Only by
I mean, I think it's
the fans and viewers have been really
easy for
supportive.
teams to be like, oh, we could have done better. Jealousy as well. And I'm not saying this is everyone, but I think it's just natural in competition. In my experience, especially for our League of Legends team, like 2015, 2016, we just completely like dominated everyone in the region. We went overseas and honestly like did pretty admirably. Like came close a couple of times to Worlds and things like that, but you still hear shit from people like back home. So it's always easier, I think, to criticize while you're like watching.
Most people were really supportive, though. Like I actually don't think I ever saw much.
People were supportive, but I think
It's
in
been
terms
fine.
of like the level of respect, things like that, probably hasn't.
Yeah. Well, we got it. We qualified. We didn't get it.
But I mean, so. I don't think it's necessarily like, oh man, like I can't believe these guys don't think we're like hectic and like now. It's more just like, yeah, like if we've done really well, then yeah, we'd probably expect a little bit. But ultimately, it's competition, right? Like it's so seasonal. Like we just kind of heads down and focus on the next one. So that's it. What else? What are we looking at? Why do Australians have so many prime ministers? Don't know. What can you do? Yeah.
No comment.
Liberal Party. I will say one thing though. I think we did get a lot of respect from overseas. Like other fans, other players, things like that. Like it's easy for, especially in every game, for people to sort of discount OC. And even though I don't think we did that amazing, we definitely more than held our own. we were getting comments like on social and from the guys on the ground. Like I think how well we were doing and how much how surprised that they were. So I think that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I met so many cool people. I think I said on Twitter, it's so unfortunate we're so far away because I can't play with any of them.
Yeah, that OC gap's still there.
Yeah.
Potato asks another question. Do you feel the change in IGL would dramatically affect your performance in the future?
I think so. I think from what we've seen so far, from changing IGL to Potato, is that like our calls, mid-game calls are a lot more consistent and thought out. Not rushed. Like Potato's been doing a lot of pre-planning in all of our rotates and everything.
Yeah.
So, and that's definitely been helping a lot.
I think the way I put it is like none of us ever wanted to IGL in the first place, and then the champs just kind of did it.
All IGL.
Yep.
And now this is
all IGL.
Huh? And then this is like more Potato decided to like take it on as a full role. Like it's a different thing.
Imagine if
like it's more thought out.
Imagine if PUBG had on-stage coaches like CS. What do you think about that? Like someone whose sole job is to like stare at a map and like talk about rotations and setups for fights and things like that. Do you think that'd be good?
It kind of how it'd be like put into the whole structure of it, because if you give a player like or a coach or whatever too much information, like say they've just got the map with just their players,
all they can see is what the player sees. Is what the players see.
Yeah, I think it could work, but I think like it takes away
interesting. But yeah, I'm not sure about long term. I think the problem is I think the game might become a bit too structured then, from a viewing perspective. Even I'm not sure, because it's like sometimes you have someone die at the start of the game and they do have a lot of input. Like they die like on rotation early. Like if one of us die in our games, the person who dies usually actually adds quite a lot.
Yeah.
So it'd be like having that, but all the time.
Every game.
I think having, yeah, that's it. I think having a coach would help like a lot of teams, especially ours probably, like in between games and anything like that, just like giving feedback that maybe you don't have time to look at, because that's something we really didn't have at PGI. Because like during the you've got a 10-minute break in between games, you can only talk about what you've seen. You don't get any other information off anyone else. So that could probably help as well.
Yeah, there's something. Take a further step back. Just having a coach. They don't necessarily have to be there while you're playing, but like we saw, like was it the Korean or Chinese team? Like there'd be a guy as soon as they're huddling in the player room.
That's actually that's interesting.
Straight after
the Chinese and Korean teams both had like full-on coaches. It's interesting, yeah. Like they were like very full on. Like they'd have like iPads with like maps, like drawings, like rotations, stats, things like that. Like this team went there. Like you guys should have done this. And I think like it's.
So if all if all the teams had that, it would make the game level higher, I think, and that's a better alternative than to actually having a coaching game. I think. I'd be more worried about
big reason I think why they did well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
They reviewed everything.
When will we get $1 billion mansion like OMG? Yeah, we win the next PGI. OMG actually invited us to their HQ, so soon. We'll go soon. Actually, I actually really do want to go soon, but we'll have to line it up. Line it up with something. I think. Line up with some like event or something.
Yeah, people were asking like, what's next, and we don't know really.
Look, we've got the end of Cyber Gamer coming up. And, the practice would be invaluable for that. Yeah.
Nah, but like it's it really is a question mark. Like what we'll get in the future if we just keep getting invites, or if we have qualifiers, or like what the reason is to play in OC is a question mark. Like people have been mentioning, like we can't even play on OC servers.
Yeah, but, someone asked earlier. What was it? Something about the OC servers.
Do you feel disadvantaged having
or
to
do you
play
think that
SEA
OC will keep an invite spot for
of
future
OC?
tournaments when our server is dying? I mean, I think we're all pretty outspoken on that. I don't think our server was dying. I think there was still a lot of players. The queues were just cooked.
Yeah, everyone's on SEA now. They don't have a chance of coming back if the queues are still broken, because everyone's still playing. Everyone plays SEA instead. So I don't know. I think we'll keep getting invites for now.
Well, I think
I would say,
like for PUBG Corp, especially if they want to be like a global thing, then sort of OC has to get invited, right?
Yeah. Even if we keep getting one invite spot.
I mean, it's not like it's not like
I still think
go on.
Like it's still going to be hard to be in Australia. Just fighting for that one spot. It's not like
Australia doesn't have an opportunity to qualify for the Soccer World Cup because there aren't as many soccer players here, right? Like, if you want a global competition, like you need to include every region. I think it's always gonna. It's like our fans and stuff, like being outspoken on social media and things like that, like playing the game and stuff will always help. But ultimately, like you can't force any of that stuff, right? Like we need to provide an appeal for them to support us and to watch us play and things like that. So,
yeah, I think our region has a skill level, but the numbers are different, and they care a lot about numbers, which is normal. That's what you expect.
Reggie, I think has asked this question like 3 times. What are your initial thoughts on getting run over by champs? I think this is an opportunity for you. It's an opportunity for you to explain what actually happened, because copping a lot of shit for it, but it wasn't actually your fault or champs' fault.
So basically, I crashed the motorbike, and then I turned around expecting to get revived on rotation, and there was a tumbling car coming down a hill, so not really much that could be done by either party.
But your motorbike didn't lean forward.
Yeah, but PUBG shit happens.
Yeah, I feel like that bug must have been like happening more on the LAN client.
3 times personally.
Yeah, it's happened to me online, but really rarely.
Mm.
And then it happened to you multiple times at the event. So when he leaned forward with his bike, which you always do to land your bike, it just did nothing. It like doesn't register in the air, so it doesn't lean forward.
I always get so like nervous when you guys like do jumps and stuff. I'm like, what? Like, why? What's the point? Like, why are you doing like a flip in PGI?
I don't know. Well, like
you guys are so confident.
I'm super
you guys are so confident like
it.
controlling your bikes and stuff. But like, I would like shit myself.
But like that's the thing. That's another issue about PUBG. I guess like you're not playing the same version you play at home. There could be tiny, small differences. Also, because it's LAN and not online. Like I play the game so much, but there could be little differences that mess with you a lot. I don't know, it does feel like a very different game. Like shooting, even shooting, it's different. I thought. I don't know if we want to old recoil patch or what. Because I couldn't stand the AK at the event.
Yeah, I know.
Whereas right now it's like my favorite online.
The patch was what 2 patches ago, just with
Yeah.
a couple of newer changes in there. So it makes a difference, especially when you've got people who are practicing and flying over with 40 hours travel time that don't get to play many games coming into it, and there's big differences. It all adds up.
PUBG in general just needs to be more uniformed.
Yeah.
Like the
And I think
version of the game we're playing, our qualifier settings, like all being different and stuff. Like not playing Miramar and not playing third person in the lead up.
But ultimately, like there
But
weren't
then having to play it.
that many bugs, I think, or that many like serious game changing bugs. I think it was pretty good overall. The LAN client was great. Like I played a little bit when people were like in the bathroom and stuff like that. So sneakily hopped on some PCs.
Yeah, it's better. It's just you're not used to it, and that could be fixed by having more scrim time and stuff in the lead up.
Yeah, I think that's like the LAN client's literally only better because 1, you've got 0 ping, and then 2, because the client is actually optimized for LAN, so it's better FPS. And they're the 2 biggest differences. Like, if FPS was higher in PUBG competition online, like I don't think there'd be much of an issue at all.
Oh yeah, people have been asking about Miramar in chat a little. I saw.
Well, I mean, we are a Miramar
I'm
TPP team, right? So
yeah, yep. I don't hate Miramar that much compared to a lot of other comp players. I think we all don't mind it really. Do you like it, Edge? I think it's okay.
I think Miramar now is a lot better than it used to be.
I think like one of the biggest problems is everyone who didn't go to PGI, their experience of it is online, and it's just too laggy. Like the FPS is a lot worse online.
Well, the thing is that all leagues dropped Miramar out a little while ago because it's a difficult map to navigate, and since then they've added like new dirt roads and new compounds and everything, and it actually makes it a lot more viable. So I'd expect a lot of leagues to start dropping Miramar back in the future.
I don't mind the 2 map system. Yeah. I think it's not that huge of a deal.
It's fine. Like honestly, it just leans back to a performance problem. Like if the game performs better, I have no problem playing Miramar. I don't mind it. It's also nice to not play the same map over and over and over.
Yeah, it adds.
But I think two is enough.
It adds like variety without changing up the gameplay too much, like third person and first person. That's too big of a change as opposed to like Miramar and Erangel. Like the fundamental playstyle is still big, I think. Was RNG a large impact in any late game matches? Any negative circle feeds that resulted in a low placing?
I think the RNG that became a factor for us is when we'd be in a compound and we'd be getting fed and then it'd move away. We just like misplayed circles ourselves by not giving ourselves any room to move. So that's all on us really. Like something we've been working on now is, even if you don't get fed late game, how to work around it and getting the best possible placing out of it, sort of thing.
I don't think RNG.
Yeah, like you can always look at things and say this could have gone better circle wise, but it's part of the game.
Yeah.
The only issue I have with that, the only thing I'd go back to it for is the fact that is the 8-game thing again. Like you can consistently, you can consistently play through bad circles, and you can do worse if you're not like adapting properly, even if you lose the circle. But in 8 games is the problem. The problem is that there's only 8 games, rather than like one individual circle in one game. It's the consistency.
Yeah. Like with your wording, Reggie. Like I don't think any circle feed should result in you placing like low, like bottom 15, that kind of thing, right? Like even like bottom 14, bottom quarter, I guess. Like I don't think circles. Personally, I don't think circle RNG like should result in that. Like you should be able to play around first, second, and third circles. But I think they do have a big effect on if you come between like 10th, fifth, and like first. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the times where, like for example, in that like third person game, like the difference between us coming second and first compared to Gen G was like Gen G Gold literally just got hard fed that last circle. So, yeah, like
That's true. Yeah.
ultimately like that shit happens. And like going on to what Crit said, like if there are more games, you sort of get to mitigate that a lot more as well, which which helps. So I don't think Circle RNG is as big a deal as people say. Like, you know, someone's like, oh man, like, you know, these guys got fed so hard, they went from like, you know, sixth to fourth. Like, you know, ultimately that's like, you know, what, 80, 100 points or something. Like, you know, if you have 12, 16 games, like it's not that big a deal. But what we did notice was like a lot of the teams like were able to play themselves out of bad situations. Like sure, teams that got fed won, but there were, I think, a lot of teams, especially OMG was like a big one, where like they didn't have to get fed to do well. Like they were always constantly on the move. Like they took fights like super well, and like they gave themselves like channels and openings to like rotate out of bad circles. Like they would always keep like a channel open and things like that.
Like,
so
I feel like OMG put themselves in some like what you would like traditionally think is a bad spot in early circles, but it would allow them to play the rest of the game after that. Whereas, say, we take some really powerful positions sometimes, but then because we'd lose the circle, we'd really struggle to adapt moving in. Like they gave themselves an easier time towards the end game because they didn't commit to like a compound, which was interesting.
sorry if this was on a micro individual skill level wise, were all the players pretty even apart from Lion KK?
I thought so.
Yeah, I don't think there's any like massive difference. Like
We got to, yeah, I think like people probably, we got to play scrims and we were a bit more aggressive in scrims. We actually did really well in the scrims. And we got to run at most teams.
yeah, I think the number of teams that are like on that super high level is much higher than OCE though.
I think the only team...
OCE's got a couple of teams that are
Yeah,
around
true.
there, but then this tourney, like literally everyone can shoot and can.
I felt the only team that I felt like had more presence than the rest was Navi.
Yeah, very
Mechanically. Like you get shot out of a car 100 meters away by Navi. And I've watching them online since, now that I've noticed playing against them. They do it all the time. They kill people in cars at ridiculous ranges all the time. So if there was one team that would stand out for me, it'd be Navi. Like you don't want to drive anywhere near them. Especially on LAN client.
Gen G, I think, were really good in third person as well. Gen G Gold.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you're just watching them, you could tell. They're so comfortable. I felt like I'd lost my way sometimes in third.
Yeah, you got to play
like
a
just
lot
my
of
natural, yeah, like just your natural reaction to a fight would move completely differently. You'd move the wrong way because you're used to first person. Like not even like, not based like it's at a very like the subconscious level. The way you move around the map it works differently in third person.
But every player there was good. Like there were
100%.
great players. There were no bad players. Like that's if that sort of answers your question. What was my favorite moment of the tournament? There's a lot. I think the crit shack was was a good one. It was when everyone like died, like with like I don't know, it's like 18, 19 teams left, and crit just chilled in a shack for like 12 placings or something. It just kept killing people who ran in, and like Genji Gold were like covering the entrance to his door. So like every time someone try and breach crit, like they just get popped by Eska. So that was really fun to watch. But yeah, favorite moment of the tournament. I don't know. Got to touch Shroud. That was pretty nice. What about you guys? What was your favorite moment?
Personally, it was my double run overkill on Navi. was pretty impressive. Driving across the bridge, but I don't know. I think there was a lot of really good plays that probably didn't even get watched by the stream. So there could have been more.
The observer stream was nice. I like that. I wish they'd incorporated the replays more. They were actually doing, so in like our first 2 days of scrims, they were testing the stream and they were doing replays like during that test, and it actually looked really good. So I don't know why they didn't, like, they must have had some tech issue and like didn't port it over to the actual broadcast. But like the way they were doing replays, like it looked really smooth and like really nice. So hopefully, like in the future, they can incorporate that a little bit more. So observer streams, because there were like 20 separate streams that were focused purely on each team. So they had like one observer who only observed like Chiefs. So I think we were like observer stream 4 or something. Like you can go back and like watch the VODs there. You can see that's where like Champs running edge over like came from, like because he got caught on the observer stream.
Yeah.
Unlucky.
Do you feel as though the blue was underutilized as a tool?
No. Like as in moving through it? I don't think so. I'm guessing that's what potato means.
I don't know. I don't think it's really
they're very specific situations.
Yeah, like you can't play the blue zone as much as you used to be able to. That's for sure. Like now it just does way too much damage to sustain, and if you don't have meds, then there's no point even going near the blue zone.
You can't stay in the blue to loot, if that's what you mean. We saw one team try to do that twice and it didn't work at all. You can't come into the circle late in that meta. Really, but you have to have some kind of position, I think, because there's just too many teams who stay alive who know what they're doing. In PGI meta, you might get away with it in like a local league, but and then like wrapping through the blue to rotate is like a one-off thing that happens every 10 games. There'll be one situation where you do it. Like we do it occasionally. Like you go through the West Bridge on George or something in the blue. Very rarely. Things like that.
Would you have enjoyed a solo day?
Probably not.
I wouldn't have bothered me. But
yeah, it might have been just like another warm up sort of.
If you replace the charity day,
not as part as the main tournament, I don't think, or any tournament. No. Tournaments should be squads. Like there's so much more that go into squads.
I think solo's an exhibition. Solo's not a pure competitive thing, in my opinion. I love solos, but they're way more RNG than squads. There's just too many situations where you'll die.
Yeah, and you can't recover
instantly. It's a fun exhibition though, and it's a good way to have storylines with solo players. I wouldn't have I wouldn't have wanted another day put aside for that. It's like Zemo. An example would be Zemo, the third-person LAN we played in Australia. I'd rather they got rid of the solo day and added more games to the squads.
Yeah.
But if you have to have one day, which is some weird stuff, I wouldn't mind solo. But if you have to, I'd rather have more time dedicated to squads at any tournament because there are not enough games usually.
Yeah, I think the games were really fun to watch. I don't think you can, like, I found much more appreciation for competitive PUBG, like, watching that event. Like, it's just so many little things that you notice that you don't get to see.
I feel like the game's improved recently. I don't know. Even coming back, I feel like since we've been playing back home.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I think so.
Comp seems to be running more smooth. I'm not sure. Is it FPS?
I don't know.
Probably not. No, I think the FPS is still average. So.
I think now that we're used to PGI circles, so it's better.
Yeah.
It's much more interesting.
Yeah, the circle settings have adapted since PGI, since the land ratio. So I think it just like literally you don't have water zones anymore that you have to be swimming to survive. So that's a massive improvement. Everything just feels a lot smoother now.
Yeah, I mean, I loved the event. I had so much fun watching the event. Even like watching other teams, like it's so easy to get invested because it's so intense. Like CS, like someone dies in one round, yeah, alright. In PUBG, like, you know, fights are so like so crazy, you know, and it means so much. So yeah, I loved it. I found like sort of like more, I don't know, like because I had so much fun playing PUBG when it first came out. Um, and I'm yeah really hoping that it kind of gets back to that level soon.
Yeah, I think a lot needs to be done for it to get back to that stage, but I don't know whether we'll be able to pick back our player base for OC as a region to be able to get it to that point. Like it might happen in NA or EU, but OC is a whole nother story.
Yeah,
Let's
it's just
see.
a little too late, maybe. Unfortunately,
Oh well, I have faith.
but yeah.
They're just yeah.
See what kind of work Hawkins can do.
Do you feel as though playing PGI will help you play OS competitions?
Only
Uh,
mentally.
yeah, mentally, I think we picked up small things
Yeah.
from PGI, but I really don't even think that we can like put them into our gameplay. Like,
Mostly not gameplay, no.
yeah,
Like
there's a couple
meta.
of like tiny things, but like
Yeah,
it's
you'd see
not
like a split or
substantial enough
something.
to notice. Yeah.
You'd see some kind of split and you'd be like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. But you wouldn't. It's like what I was saying before. All these international events have their own meta, basically. Unless they start becoming all the same teams. I don't know. Like, you can't, it's hard. Like, if we did some of the stuff, if we took something straight from PGI and tried to do it in OC, like, some of it wouldn't work at
I
all.
think like how a lot of the Asian teams, like the higher tier Asian teams, play, you can take like a lot from that just in their like their breaching, their aggressiveness, their how they play as a team. Like because they have 10 scrims a day, like you know, you get to work on a lot more than say we have, where you have 3 scrims if you're lucky a night. Um, and you just work on basics and can't really
Yeah.
push much from there.
So I think the most thing you take for it would be the mental game, the
Yeah.
discipline. Like, it was actually really impressive seeing the way the Chinese and Koreans played. Like, it was just more like they were just consistent every game. I don't know. Even if they died early, they died doing what they wanted to do.
Mm.
Yeah.
That was something that was disappointing about our play, that when we died, you know, there was not much that we can do to change it in that situation, other than like going back to the drawing board. Like you can't fight your way out of it or anything like that. It's just bad positioning and just shit that you shouldn't get caught out for.
Arcon, ARQON. In PGI, did you find there
Yeah,
was more
Archon.
or less of a window to be taking aggressive positions for trading?
Uh, Probably less. Because if you're trying to aggressively trade, like everyone's like a good player and there's multi teams still alive, so you're just going to get third partied constantly if you put yourself
Yeah.
in a position to trade.
Goes back to there being 20 really good teams in the lobby
Yeah, definitely.
that will take advantage of you putting yourself in a. If you put yourself in a bad spot to aggressively attack someone, there will be another team taking advantage of you. It's the same. It goes back to not being able to get away with like things in OC, with things in overseas that work in OC. But also, there were times when you do have to do that. When we should have done that, we didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All your thoughts going to the charity matches? Obviously, it wasn't a factor in the tournament, but moving into more casual games, was your mindset more relaxed or focused? Good transition into FVP.
Just chilling out, really.
I mean, there's a bit of a obvious gap between some of like the
We like
influences.
our two players didn't play PUBG really, which is fine. So we just had casual fun. It was good to run around a bit and shoot in first person. But
Yeah, that's really all it was just having a little bit of a warm up, honestly.
yeah. I mean, it would have been nice to play more PUBG. Like that was good to play some PUBG. That didn't matter, like casually. No stress.
Yeah, it's just chill,
It was fine.
good downtime.
Did your playstyle change in the last few games?
No, and I think that was a problem.
Yeah, no, I didn't. It's like we got into a safe style and we never left
Yeah.
it and it didn't work at all. So
We spoke about it, but we just
yeah.
literally didn't put it into our game. Like we talked about what we needed to do, and those changes would have worked, but we just instantly, as soon as we got back into the game, it was just straight back into the same. Right.
Play it too safe and then we'd overplay like a rotate or something. Like even that game where you got run over, we're probably going for a way too ambitious rotate. I don't know. What even happened that game? Where did Champs and I end up?
The Wizard Heart, right? I know you went.
No.
Did you go
Yeah.
Yeah. Wizard Heart next to Power.
Yeah. So it didn't. Yeah. Oh no, we had to wrap all the way around the coast. That was the last game, right?
Yeah.
We ended up coming like 9th or 11th or something. I was dead to zone. I couldn't make it in. I wrapped up. I survived as long as I could around the rocks, but
Yeah, I remember watching that game and just being like, Navi, please die. Because they're like our closest competitors. But, wait, was that our last game? That wasn't our last game, I think. Wasn't our last game? I think Edgy got...
No, last game was where Edge got
I
run
thought
over.
Edge got 2 kills that game.
That was the end. Last game
with
with third person.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're thinking of third
maybe.
person because we're waiting. We wanted Navi to die because it was between us and them to come 9th and 10th, and we came 9th. They came 10th by 10 points or something because Edge got those kills.
Yeah, got 4 kills that game.
How do you...
The other game where Edge got run over was last.
How do you see the near future of OC competitive scene with regional issues with the game right now? Where do the next batch of competitive players come from? That's a good question, actually.
I don't know. It's kind of difficult. There is like a lot of people that are in PUBG that are maybe in lesser teams, but it's all about grinding, and grinding in OC is pretty hard to do at the moment because the servers are off.
Yeah, it's hard to be a new player who doesn't have a team in OC. Like it's literally nearly impossible. What do you do, really? It's something like Face It would help.
I like Face It, actually.
Those players, those kinds of players. But right now it's only
I thought
NA. Because like it might be coming, we don't know. Like right now, if you're that kind of player, you can't play on your own server. Especially if I'm from WA, so I get good ping to SEA. If you're not from WA and you're like Queensland or something, you don't have a server to play normal. You can't like practice mechanics. You literally just don't have a choice. Besides trying to get into a pug or something, which Premier runs sometimes. So it's really hard. I do see quite a lot of players who seem interested in my chat and stuff. People interested in playing PUBG.
I mean,
but there's not much of a basis.
that's where things like CG and stuff hopefully come in. like maybe like a CG Silver, like a Div 2 league. Give people some.
Yeah. Well, there's actually quite
give
a few
people
people
something to
playing
like.
that.
Wait, there is a Div 2 league, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there is, and there are quite a few people playing that. It's just there's no downtime. Like in Counter Strike, you can play
Yeah,
MM, or
I
you
feel you.
can even grind offline bots. There's nothing like that in PUBG.
Soon.
If you don't have a comp game or you don't have a pug, you can't play on low ping.
Yeah, because literally that's how all of the players, pretty much all of the players who are in the top teams right now, like came about. Like everyone was just grinding PUBG to be on the leaderboards, to be at the top there, and then all of a sudden it stopped. And I don't think we've had really much of an influx of good players sort of coming to the scene either.
I'll get back into it, boys. Sorry.
It's just
Like if
been
you
sort of same players everywhere.
if you were a person who watched PGI out of like randomly and you thought this looks awesome, I want to play PUBG, and you buy PUBG, your first impression is you can't find a game on your own server.
Yeah.
So
That just needs to be fixed.
that makes it
I mean,
rough.
as soon as that gets fixed, I think it'll be fine. I'd rather play a Miramar game
Yeah.
than not play a game at all.
Yeah, I think adding in the selection of maps sort of just made it so hard for OC, having like people split between different choices and then not getting any of the games. You know, it's pretty rough.
I think most people know that who actually play,
Yeah.
but anyone new doesn't know that.
No, that's
So
right.
they lose any hope playing. It's hard.
Did you meet any love interests while in Berlin? I think Crit had like a separate Tinder phone just for Tinder, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Swiped it clean.
No.
He swiped the
phones did
phone,
Crit
like
have
the
there?
you know, like the cover for like the screen. He just swiped all the way through it. Do you believe current TOs should look at bringing in C teams into tier 1 leagues and scrims? You guys are doing that already, right?
We had it in, what was it, Awesome?
They are allowed to if they want.
Well, I think the problem is that SEA is so big that, like, depending on where the team is going to affect their ping drastically. And you know, it's the same thing as us playing on SEA servers. That most of the time it's going to be laggy. So why would they want to sacrifice their good ping and a good scene to play on our servers?
I think they're keen, and then they play and they realize they don't want to deal with lag.
Yeah.
Whereas we're more used to dealing with lag. Like plenty of people complain when playing SEA Cup, but we're more likely to deal with it. Whereas they've never had to deal with that. They always have SEA servers in every game, probably. I think.
I don't know. I think if OC teams wanted to play in SEA leagues and were allowed to, I think they could probably dominate like majority of teams in first person. But you know, it's still just the same thing as, do you want to play in the laggy servers or not? You know, what positive outcome do you get from playing in an SEA league? Obviously, you get better reach and everything, but is it worth it?
Yeah, like they'd have to make it would definitely change the landscape if we had better connections out of Australia to SCA, because it's not that far. If everyone had the most ideal connection for the location, like the distance, we'd actually be able to compete with them probably on a pretty fair level. It's just Australia doesn't have the correct routing. Like mine's not bad from WA, but that's my experience. And Australia's too big of a country.
Out of every game you played, what one did you feel you played best?
At PGI?
I think so. Yeah.
Probably the game on Miramar where I got 7 kills.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I think as a team, that's the game we played best as well. like our rotations, team fights leading up to that was definitely like stronger than every other game we played.
That game played out like the scrims we played.
Yeah.
We did what we wanted and we got kills and we ran around and shot people. To put it simply, we played like that. We did really well in our scrims playing like that. We just never that's like the only game that got translated.
Yeah, it was such a good start to the last day.
Yeah.
Didn't
What
last
happened
long.
after that? Came 14th the next game or something. No, came last the next game, I think. With a really bad rotation. Yeah.
What was your opinion of making OC FPP only? I don't think that's a good idea. I think there are still a lot of TPP players, and like they make up. Like we shouldn't force players to play competitive. Just because they're TPP players doesn't mean they're not interested in competitive first-person PUBG.
I think there's literally more third-person players in Australia than there are first-person.
The third-person players aren't the problem with the queues.
No.
The problem is the queues are broken.
Yeah.
There were enough first-person players. But why would you keep bot playing when you can go play another game and get a queue instantly? Like the casuals who like first-person, they're important. Even if they don't want to ever play comp, they're important. And they don't have any, they have no reason to play PUBG right now. So they can't. You go play Counter-Strike or Rainbow Six instead. If not Fortnite.
Realm Royale.
Yikes.
Rest in peace.
Had potential.
So, yeah.
It was fun. Not competitive though.
Alright. I'm going to give away a couple of PUBG skins. So, we have the PGI 2018 crate skins. I don't actually know what you get from these. Do you guys know? I haven't used these ones. These ones.
Which ones are they?
I don't know either.
I think that's like the ringside seats and stuff, is it?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it might be ringside.
Everyone loves skins.
I'm not sure.
So, first of all, obviously, thanks to everyone who stopped by the stream. Thanks to AORUS as well for sponsoring us, helping us with the event, and also giving us a lot of cool stuff to give away. We have a ton of hats, USB ports and mouse pads and stuff. So what I've done is I've gone through and added a bunch of people who asked, a ton of questions in the chat. Added you guys on Twitch, so make sure you guys check your Twitch friend requests and send us a bit of info there. And we'll also just be picking some random people to give stuff away.